All right, what is going on, everybody? We are back at it again. Saturday Rocket League, week number 9, and we have got some interesting things going on tonight. First match of the night: Ignite versus Pawns. Rest in peace, Ignite. They're gone forever. They forfeited, so the Pawns get the dub. Ignite, unfortunately, that means they're gonna drop down to what I believe is, I don't know. Someone can fact check me. 1-17. I think so. Yeah, 1-17. I'm right. But yeah, we're gonna be taking home the a season interview, which we kind of wanted to do for a while now, but it'll be good to get it going. So season interview, talk about all 5 of the leagues for our first matchup. But let me introduce everyone that's in here for this one. First, I guess we'll introduce the man, the myth, the legend, C Money, who's
Oh,
streaming tonight. You get the first introduction, C Money.
oh, that's great. I'm doing all right today. It's been a good day. I bought some fish, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought some betas today. Just expanding the zoo over here. Now we're gonna have fish cam. All right, catch me in general.
Fish cam. Snake cam is now evolved into fish cam. I like it. I like it. We're also joined by Chipmunk, a monster man over here. What's up, Chipmunk?
Yeah, those are my pronouns, Chip and Monka.
And Wonka, nice. I like it. I like it. Chipmunk's here. We're also joined by a new face in the booth, Nemesis RL. Nemesis, been doing some good work on the graphics. Good to see you, man.
Hello, hello. It's me, your boy.
Nice. Good to have you on. And we'll also be having a special guest. Bagels apparently doesn't know what's going on. It was going to be special, but now I got to say it out so Bagels understands that he's actually is the special guest, even though we just talked to him not too long ago. But Bagels, you will be here, or else. Um, but yeah. anyways, I think we could probably get started. We're just going to be going through the brackets here, talking about the season in review for each league, and then yeah, pretty standard stuff, but should be interesting to touch on the league. So let's kick it off with novice league here. Nemesis, you are our resident novice expert here on the season. What can you tell us? What can you tell us what novice league?
I wouldn't say an expert, but I kind of have a well understanding, I guess. Started off, we have Whelps with the second seed in playoffs, looking a little shaky going into the playoffs, I guess. They got swept by Excel and Diffusion. Or not Diffusion, I'm sorry. Getting swept by Excel, but sweeping Diffusion, getting that last 3-0 win in there before playoffs. How do you guys think they'll go into playoffs? I think I'm supposed to ask, right? No.
I mean, you can ask if you want. I mean, that's all
That's
that's all up to you.
Novice is your show, man. Run it.
Uh,
Oh, okay.
we can talk about it at the end. We'll probably preview the
Yeah.
playoff matches at the very end. So you
Um.
can just keep going through the teams, and then we'll talk
All
about it
right.
at the end.
Excel having the number 4 seed, with an 11-7 record as of right now, clinching playoffs. They clinched it, sweeping Whelps actually. It was pretty exciting. Great series to watch. Kept you on your toes. Uh, Going to the number 1 seed Kiwis with a 14-4 record as of right now. They're looking to take over the playoffs, snagging the number 1 seed, and they're off of 2 wins in the last regular season. Number 6 seed Genesis with 8-10, losing an unfortunate game 5 against Kiwis, 3-2. But it was a battle. It was a really great series. It was on stream as well. Number 3 seed Diffusion going into playoffs with a 3rd seed, swept against. Oh wait, swept Vikings, but getting swept against Whelps in the regular season. I think they'll kick it up in playoffs. Though I think they'll do good, no without a doubt. And then the number 5 seed Wisps been off and on throughout the end of the season with a record of 10-8, clinching the 5th seed. I think they'll do a little bit better in playoffs though. But that's pretty much all I have on novice.
Oh, what about our
Um,
non-seeded people out here?
the non-seeded, okay,
I
for playoffs, our non-seeded teams. I'll go a little bit off script here. I think a lot of the teams did really well this season. Some teams that should be mentioned. Chess Hall, for example. I know it's a little biased. I'm sorry, but Chess Hall, they kind of pulled it off at the beginning of the season. It was a little shaky, but we pulled it together at the end of the season. We finished it out strong, with a good record of 10-8. Other teams like Ignite, I know they had a struggle, but they found their way through, and they got one win at least. They got one win, right? Um, Teams like Vikings did really well. Vikings pulled it ahead a little bit during the end there. They had a little good stretch. Um, that's basically it.
Lynx.
Oh
Lynx as
yeah,
well.
Lynx as well. They did really good. They got a few wins here and there. They're really good as a team. They're a good team. But yeah, I'm a little bit new to this, so I'm sorry. I'm trying my way.
No, you're doing all good. You're doing all good, man. But yeah, that's kind of the recap. All the teams there. You guys can see. Maybe see money can stop the brackets for a second on the novice one, so we can talk about it as we talk about
Oh
the playoff
gosh.
picture. He says, "Oh gosh." Also, apparently we can hear you breathing, see money. So stop inhaling your mic and stop the dang novice bracket if possible. Then people can look at it while we're going through it.
All right, one thing at a time. Get on the novice bracket. I'll do that.
The breathing part, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
kind of a
it's probably like,
Tell
you
them to
know,
stop. Tell Simone to stop breathing.
here's
kind of a rip to the Pawns, though, in my opinion.
here's
They
what I
they
can
finished
do.
10-8, and they didn't make playoffs.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, everything I'll say is biased, but I think my team really worked hard. Uh, Radio, shout out to Radio, shout out to Jaduki, shout out to Build. They all work really hard. They all do their part. They all work as a team. We blend well. We have good chemistry. They're all good players. But I definitely was hoping for a playoff run with them. They really helped me turn the team around. They're really outstanding players, and to look out for them in prospect season because I know they're moving up too. They're really good players.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep our eyes open for that and see what happens. See what happens for the Pawns and you guys next season. But looking at this bracket, there we go. I think we got it stopped. Good job, C Money. Love C Money. So looking at this bracket here, let's kind of preview a couple of these matches. I think I probably should have wrote some times down on here so I could keep track of going through everything. But let's go through these matchups real quickly. First matchup we have the Wisps taking on Genesis in that lower round of one. The Wisps talked about 10-8, Genesis 8-10 in that lower one. We also have Diffusion taking on Acceleration in the upper quarterfinal, and then obviously you can see the Whelps in semifinal one. Kiwis number one overall seed down there in semifinal two. Chipmunk, I want to bring it to you kind of here. Any matchup that stands out here early on in the bracket or anything that interests you?
This is a bit of a controversial opinion, but I personally had Genesis going all the way to the championship and winning, which they are the 6th seed. But I just like the way they played on stream. I think a few days ago, 5 days ago. So yeah, I like the way they played, and I just had them winning it.
Interesting. The 6th seed. Could we see an upset? That would be kind of spicy. I would actually like to see that too, if Genesis could pull it back. Being the GM, they struggled towards the end of the season, but had a really good start. So they have the possibility to make it all the way. I will say that. C Money. Any thoughts from you on the novice bracket and any predictions maybe?
I mean, I always like the lower round one games. Those people tend to kind of go into the lower quarterfinal hot. So, I got to give the edge to Genesis. I do like them. I've talked to Magic Pepperoni a little bit, so I might be a little biased, but I think they're definitely going to have a chance to go up against Kiwis, and what they do from there kind of relies on their hands if they can keep that momentum. But being that my boys are at number two, I gotta take them going for the chip. So,
The Whelps.
yep.
The Whelps, that is. Yeah, that would be
Yes. Thank
interesting.
you for the clarification.
We got to clarify. Not everyone knows who your boys are. C Money. But yeah, the Whelps they're looking too bad there as well. 14-4, tied with the Kiwis, but Kiwis taking home that tiebreaker by taking the season series over the Whelps 2-0. So Kiwis hold on to that number 1 seed and rocking that semifinal 2. Good position to be in that semifinal 2, I will say. So Kiwis in a great spot. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that lower round 1 goes. I also think that Genesis is probably going to make it out of that lower round 1. But Diffusion versus Acceleration is going to be spicy. I think I know a lot of people have Acceleration who have made an insane turnaround. I don't know exactly if Nemesis had it written down about the turnaround that they had, but they had quite the turnaround in the middle of the season. The defending champions, Acceleration. I think they lost something 4 out of 5 games right in the middle of the season. Kind of hit a real dry spell, and they were in a bad position. But you got to give credit to them where it's due. They bounced back, good on Slays and the rest of the boys to bounce back and hop into that 4th seed there, and they have a chance now take down F Diffusion, maybe go right into Whelps for a possibility there. So I'll be curious to see how it goes. I would love to see obviously Genesis make a run, but Kiwis have also looked solid. We might be seeing Acceleration Kiwis grand finals if I had to make a prediction as well, but you never know. You never know how it's going to go. Nemesis, I'll leave it last for you since the novice expert here. You got a prediction quickly about this bracket or anything that really interests you?
All right, look, all the players here are fantastic, phenomenal players. All right, they're all great, but I have Acceleration Kiwis finals, and this is the tricky part. I really don't know who's gonna win it all, but if I were to place my bets, it would probably be Kiwis in the end. Only reason why I have Acceleration and Kiwis going into finals is because Acceleration has been on such a hot streak lately that I really think they have a chance in taking it all. Because with God Gamer and Cosme and Slays on that team, it's looking like a really good God squad. But on the other hand, Kiwis has Rogue, has Hot Wheels, has Hydro. They're all 3 of those players are really great players. So I'm probably gonna have to give it to Kiwis.
All right, fair enough. Well, we will have to see for sure. We have to move right along into the Prospect League. Before we do, quick shout out to Goff for the 7 months, and I guess shout out to myself for the 12 months as well. But shout out to Goff for 7 months on the resub earlier at the beginning of the stream. And why don't we move right along into Prospect with we got a resident Prospect expert, C Money over here. C Money, can you run us quickly through Prospect here?
Yeah, I can. You know, after 3 seasons here, I think I kind of know my stuff.
I hope so. I
You
hope
know,
you do.
so I'll get the bracket going for you guys in a second. Let me start all this stuff. All right, so Origin, they took the number 1 seed. They started out pretty well. They played the whole season pretty well. Ended on a 15-3. Their first 2 losses actually came in their first 3 games, but after that they really turned things around, got together, going with some good chemistry, and their only other loss came to the Rooks in the midseason after the Rooks kind of turned things around for them, which we'll get to. But after that loss, they ended up winning 9 straight to secure that number 1 and really, show why they have a good shot at the chip this season. Velocity, the number 2 seed, because they took number 1 in the Western, which was a pretty close race in the Western Conference overall, but they kind of had a 3-way tie with Banshees and Melons as well, but being number 1 in the Western, they take the number 2 seed. But they had a strong first half, starting off with a 7-win streak. The middle was kind of a little iffy there. You know, they had to get 6 total losses on the season, being 12-6. But they are kind of on a downswing right now, ending their last 5 games in a 1-4. So that could be a little rough for them going into playoffs. But they got this week break to hopefully get some team chemistry going and maybe turn things around for them and go fight for the championship there. Banshees at number 3, also 12-6. They had a pretty good season overall. They mainly won with a 12-6 at a 2-to-1 ratio there. So their losses came in here and there, but to end the season, last 5 games they did go 2-3. So half their losses came there at the end. The Melons, at number 4, also 12-6, started off super strong. They went 8-0, which kind of is expected after Mellon's already winning back-to-back. Expected to have another good season. But somewhere in the middle of the season, I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure somebody left the team or had to leave. Ended up due to
I
that
think it was Grant.
Grant.
I think it was that Grant guy, maybe. For the Melons you're talking about, right?
Yeah, for the Melons.
I don't know. Someone could fact check us in there. I think it was. I know Grant left. I think that might have been the guy, but I could be wrong.
Just to clarify, we're getting most of our stats from the website, which doesn't tell us drops and pickups. So don't blame us. All right. But
Blame Austin.
yeah.
Hey, just look at transactions, you fools.
Yeah, well, after that transaction of losing that player, they proceeded to go 0-5. But at the very end of the season, last 5 games, they went 4-1. So that allowed them to keep their playoff spot as Ember was on the high rise to try to catch up to them there. But Vipers, number 5, they started off pretty good. A little bit of a midseason rough spot with just a 3-game loss streak. Nothing too notable there. I mean, pretty average team going 9-8. You expect them to win and lose back and forth, and that's kind of what they did, minus that 3-game loss streak there in the middle. Faded, number 6, the last playoff spot. They were honestly able to do just enough at 7-10 to keep their playoff spot, as Rooks were able to end up tying them at the end of the season. Well, I guess Faded has one more game tonight, so they could potentially go 8-10 or 7-11, which would tie Rooks. But Faded able to edge out that last playoff spot against Rooks, which we'll find out if that was a tiebreaker or not. That's already been determined.
Yes.
But they ended. Yeah, okay. So there's the confirmation, yes. Ended on a pretty low note with only 2 wins in the whole second half of the season. So they really needed those 2 wins to fight them off. But I guess that takes us to our non-playoff teams here. So we got.
Yeah. I was gonna say I could run through them quickly for you, C Money, if you want to try to get the prospect bracket up on the screen for everyone to look at.
Yeah, I can see if I can.
Maybe you can tell us about the Wyverns since they're one of the teams. 5-13 Wyverns.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of just didn't know what to do. We didn't have good team chemistry. We had good players that, with the right team, would do well, but the players that we had, but putting us all together in a pool did not allow us to play well, and hence caused a 5-13. If I'm not mistaken, we did start to do a little better at the end, probably better than in the beginning. I'd have to double check where our wins actually came from, but I mean, we had a couple. Actually, we had 4 of our wins in the first half of the season, and we're only able to find 1 more in the second half. So we did not end up doing very well. But Sands and Elite were our pickup at the trade deadline, and they tried to help us. But when you come into a do or die situation, it puts a lot of pressure on them, and they played outstanding. We played well as a team, just not well enough.
Well, there you go. They're the Wyverns, and let's quickly run through these other teams. Then we got to quickly talk about the prospect bracket so we can keep things rolling right along. But you mentioned the Rooks, who 7-11 made a good comeback there, almost made it into the playoffs. Unfortunately, Faded holds the tiebreaker, so no matter what happens tonight, Faded is going to be in as the 6th seed. And then on the opposite side of things, Ember 9-9, a really good turnaround from them. Or really struggled at the beginning of the season, but they were able to come back and make a good gain. 9-9, almost able to get to the Melons there, but the Melons had just enough of the edge, so they were able to hold on to that second wild card spot. And then one last team, Jaguars, 1-17, kind of a rip. We had quite a few actually 1-17 teams, surprisingly. One in Ignite, one in Jaguars there, so not really to talk about with the Jaguars, unfortunately. But how about we take a look quickly at this playoff bracket? Quick shout out to Leroy Bowman, 6-month sub, waiting for Challenger right after this one, so not too long. But take a look quickly at this prospect bracket here. We also got Cooking Bagels in the call. What's up, Bagels?
Hello.
The special guest has joined us. He is here.
I've arrived.
He made it. But quickly, let's go through this. Let's go through this bracket. Let's run around the table. Quick prediction: who's taking it all, and any interesting matchups. Chipmunk, let's go with you first, quickly here.
I think in my prediction bracket, I had Velocity taking it all, but I think, or not Velocity, Origin. I think this is the most up in the air out of all of them, out of all the leagues, in my opinion. So I think it can go anywhere. I think Banshees could win, Melons could win, Velocity, probably any of the top 4 could win.
All right, fair enough. You're gonna stick with your Origin prediction?
Yeah, I probably will.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's bring it over to Midnight. Or to Midnight? I was looking at the chat. I see Midnight's name. Hey, Midnight. I mean, Nemesis RL. They're graphics people. They do graphics. Come on, you gotta give me a break here. I looked at chat, saw his name. I looked back at Discord, and okay. Nemesis RL. Nemesis, who do you got here? What are you looking at in prospect?
In my bracket predictions, I have Origin. Shout out to Zabungi. I have Origin winning it all against Velocity in finals.
All right, fair enough. C Money, you're the prospect expert here. Who you taking in this one?
I mean, usually I like to root for some lower round 1 people, as I mentioned for Novice, but I just don't think either one. Vipers might have a chance to go up against Origin, but I think Origin's going to round them out. Definitely going to the grand finals for Origin. It's going to be a little tough, though. All those 3 teams in the top could definitely make it to the grand finals, but I think Origin's going to do it as long as they continue to play as well as they have been. I mean, they're on a 9 straight win streak right now, so as long as they keep playing, which I know at least Jaegers will. Mans is always on, so I definitely think Origin's going to round out the prospect bracket, take the chip.
Pre-jump
Yeah.
Jaegers.
Pre-jump Jaegers. He's definitely been grinding. Bagels, you going pre-jump Jaegers, or who do you got in this one?
I think without a shadow of a doubt, Origin is making it to grand finals. I'm not 100% sure who's going to meet them there. I think if Banshees can beat Melons, I think that they have the potential to beat Velocity. But I don't think Banshees are capable of beating Origin. I'm sorry. Chillin's in the chat. Chillin's in the chat. He's going to be pissed. But the Banshees have won one individual game throughout the whole season against Origin. So I don't think that they have a chance to beat against Origin. I think Banshees can make it to grand finals, but I think ultimately Origin's going to get their second grand final victory.
All right, I would also like that being the GM. Origin 15-3 this season. Very impressed with my guys there. Shout out to Jaegers and the boys for grinding. I also gonna rock with Origin here. Obviously, kind of have to. Hopefully they'll pull it off. But we got to keep moving this show right along.
We got to get Bagel's novice real quick. His novice prediction.
What? You belong. He's late. He's late, see, buddy. We got to keep moving. We're gonna run out of time for these other leagues. You brought me here. You said I was leading this like he was on track, and we're already behind.
Said I was late. I'm not.
We
late.
have 16 minutes for 3 leagues, so it's
yeah.
Hey, I did mine in about 5. The predictions took forever.
No, I don't know about that. But anyways,
3, 2, 1, go.
Let's 3, 2, 1, go. Let's move on to Challenger League here. I'll take us quick.
Kiwis, by the way.
He says Kiwis. All right, there you go. Kiwis from Bagels. So Kiwis in the Novice League from Bagels. But let's move on to the Challenger League. I'll quickly run through what I wrote down. I'm just going to run right down the seeding on it. Ascension ended up actually had a 3-way tie at 14-4 in the Challenger League with Ascension, who took down the Race, Flame, and Motion in the last 2 weeks. Arguably, throughout the season, the top 4 teams were Ascension, Race, Flame, and Motion. It was pretty much a toss-up until the last week of the season where things kind of got sorted out. Ascension took down all 3 of them, and the last 2 weeks to secure the number 1 overall seed, and Ascension has won 11 of their last 12 after starting 3-3, winning 11 of their last 12 to take the number 1 overall seed. However, they might be missing Reed in the second semifinal, which could be interesting. We'll look at the bracket in a second. But might be missing Reed here for the semifinals. He's been a starter all season. Motion, also 14-4, had 6 sweeps in a row before finally losing a Flame in that last week. With the second last week and the last week were really intense in the Challenger League. Unfortunately for Motion, they lost to Flame and then also lost to Ascension, but still ended up with the Western Conference Championship and the second seed. Looking at Flame, they are another really solid team, 14-4, technically tied again with these three teams. Won 7 of their last 8. However, their only loss was a 3-1 to Ascension. That was an intense series. Flame just needed to win one more game in that series. Ascension actually went down 1-0 in the series, had to win 3 in a row to get the tiebreaker. Otherwise, Ascension would have been the 3 seed, Flame would have been 1. So that was a very intense series. Unfortunately, Flame drops 3-1, but they are still definitely a very hot team, pun intended, and they're going to be a contender for sure. The race ended up 11-7 at the 4 seed. Very solid start for them, but lost Kinetic in the middle or towards the end of the season and have lost the last 4 matches. So things are not looking too good for the race, unfortunately. Drake's 9-9, a couple roster changes throughout the season. They picked up Dizzy midway through the season, who's been a really good addition to their roster, getting them to the 5th seed. But they are losing their captain in Kiwi for the playoffs, so it's going to be interesting to see how they are going to survive without Kiwi, at least through the semifinals. So
And we might be losing our sub.
and they might be losing their sub from C Money. So that could be bad news. Bad news for the Drakes there at the 5th seed. But we'll have to see if they can pull underdog run and then dissolve 8-10. A bunch of roster changes throughout the season from them. Completely different from the beginning of the season. Besides KN, who's been the main guy, really solid for his team. They lost to the Drakes, who they're actually playing in the first round. They lost to the Drakes in the last match of the season in Game 5. So could be an intense first round matchup. Also, looking at the other teams, Papayas, they started out really strong, ended up at 6-11. They lost Muffin and pretty much went downhill after that. Regret and Company couldn't pull it back to make a playoff run, unfortunately. Then Bishops 6-12, pretty much mid pack throughout the season and kind of right around that last playoff spot, but unfortunately couldn't quite squeak it in. I got a picked up Blazing Dragon from the Tigers, but just couldn't get in that 6th seed. Unfortunately for them, just missed out. And then actually just two more teams. Tigers 5-12, rounding out the Eastern Conference. They play Papayas later tonight to potentially get to 4th in the conference, so we'll see. Last but not least, Venom 2-16, kind of struggled all season. Couldn't really find a roster that worked out. But gotta give a shout out to Poseidon, the GOAT, for all the donations. Unfortunately, his team couldn't pull off too many victories, but he's still a great guy, and they fought their best, I'm sure. But for me, and kind of the note that we wrote down on here, Ascension has got to be the front runner, right alongside Flame, who is definitely a very formidable foe, and then maybe Motion. Depends on how Motion can do, but Motion losing to Flame and Ascension definitely puts things into question about how much of a competitor they are. And then Race, Drakes, and Dissolve, definitely the major underdogs in the playoff run. So it kind of looks like a top 3 and then an underdog kind of run. And I kind of want to touch quickly on the bracket too, is that upper quarterfinal, Flame versus Race. I do predict Flame going against that one. So this is another reason why that 1 seed is so crucial, because if you're Motion or if you're Flame, you guys basically have to go up against each other now. And that is, 2 of the top 3 teams, really, in my opinion, going at it. So I think that's why it's so crucial for us in Ascension to grab that 1 seed, especially so Reed could possibly make it there to the match. But yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting for sure here. So yeah, we could maybe bring around the table. I know I talked quite a bit. See what everyone else thinks about Challenger. Chipmunk, we'll quickly go with you first.
As much as it pains me to say, I think Ascension's gonna win.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I hope Flame or Motion wins just to prevent Austin from winning.
Wow.
This could
That's
be
it.
the first legit title Rocker Man's ever gotten. He has like 5 bogus titles.
Stop the Rocker
Whoa.
Man slander.
What is this?
Whoa.
5 bogus titles. But hey, you know what? This is it. This is the season of Rocker Man. Race have been hard mauling. Motion just got clapped by him last week. Flame, the only real contender, so it's going to be kind of a battle if Flame makes it to grand finals. I think it'll be close, but assuming that Ascension has Reed, I think they easily make it to grand finals and most likely win.
I'm actually quite the opposite. I
Uh-oh.
think Flame's gonna take it in Game 5.
Whoa.
5?
Whoa.
Dominating victory, 4-1.
Wait, over
Game
Ascension?
5 over Ascension. The only 2 matches that stick out to me is Flame Motion and Flame and Ascension. That is it.
Oh, that is a very bold prediction. I will say Flame is a really good team though. Definitely our biggest threat. to potentially taking the championship. C-Money, you got some quick thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I got some quick thoughts. I'm gonna agree with Biscuit in the chat. He says Drake's be sleeping because Logie talked to his work and he's now actually playing in playoffs. And Logie a big threat. He's been hiding on the bench this whole time. I think they're definitely gonna play Ascension, and that's gonna be a close game. That one could go either way. So I don't know, but I definitely giving it to Drake or Ascension to take it. Whoever makes it to the grand finals. This top has kind of been a mess lately, so that's my 2 cents.
All
All
right.
right. Well, fair enough. We'll move right along into Rival League. And then with that one. And we got our boy Chipmonka with the Rival League expert here. Let's go through this one.
All right, so I'm gonna try to speed run a little bit to save some time. So first off, we got Hydra. They went 17-1. Nothing much to say besides they're good at the game. And Biscuits win streak totaled 38 by the end of the season, starting in season 2. And going straight to the number 2 seed Pineapples, they finished 12-6, earning the 2 seed despite a lot of roster changes throughout the season. Bubs, Crypt, and then bringing in Lancer and Doodle. So they have a big 4-man roster there. Vortex at the 3 seed started off 5-6, and then finished 12-6, winning 7 in a row. Also beating Hydra, giving Hydra's only loss. Lightspeed are just kind of the middle of the pack team in the playoffs. A really solid team, but since Benji's been stepping down, they've kind of struggled a little bit. Still managed to find some wins, but they kind of need to find their groove a little bit, and hopefully they can do so going to playoffs. At number 5, we have Gravelords, who are the reigning champs. Started off 8-2, but since then have gone 2-6 and got themselves a 5 seed. At number 6, barely getting in the playoffs, we have Arrival, who are now doubted. Like they got into the playoffs with Crypt, but now they are being doubted because they end up benching Crypt for reasons. But with it happens. But
Reasons.
Reasons.
for reasons that I'm not gonna go into. So going to the out of playoffs teams, we have Blaze and Panthers, who barely finished out of the playoffs against a rival, who ended up taking that playoff spot. And Blaze and Panthers were both really close. I think Blaze had the same record as a rival, and Panthers were 1 game back. And then the other 2 teams, Distortion and Kings, aren't really notable, except the Kings won their first 2 and then lost the next 16. So
Unfortunate.
That's tough.
yeah, but going in the playoffs, the 3 teams that really are the only ones expected to have a chance are Hydra, Pineapples, and Vortex, who are really just the 3 front runners in the playoffs, and most people have either Hydra or Vortex.
The Chipmunk. Oh yeah. Bagels.
No, I was just saying, yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's run around the table quick. Chipmunk, I'll bring it back to you first.
Okay.
Who you take? You taking yourself? You betting on yourself and the Vortex boys?
Yes.
Good. If you would have said no, there would have been a problem.
Hydra bad.
Hydra bad. All right. You're getting clipped for that, and they're
Okay.
gonna spam. They're gonna spam you later if you guys lose. So.
We're not.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you heard it here first, folks. Vortex going all the way, potentially. Hydra do be looking deadly, though, I will say. Let's bring to C-Money. C-Money, what do you think about this this bracket here?
Honestly, I don't really know anything. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, I think it's Gravelords.
I'm
No.
sorry. That's my own team, but
On a real note, Hydra though, honestly, as long as they keep their heads, I think they're fine. There's nothing that maybe Vortex could do about it, but Nobody else really.
That's funny.
That was
That's
a good
funny.
joke. That was
That's
good
a
joke.
really
I
good
like
joke.
I think Hydra's got this.
All right, fair enough. Nemesis, what do you think about the rivalry here?
I'm making enemies around the table right now.
Oh,
I have Lightspeed beating Vortex and Pineapples.
oh,
I want to see Astro do it. I want to see Astro do it.
he made it
Alright,
there.
hold on,
He
hold
made
on.
it there. He made it there last season.
Spicy.
I have Lightspeed. I have Lightspeed and Hydra 4-2 Lightspeed.
Oh,
Just because I think playoff Astro is gonna be something else.
hey,
I guess
that
that
would
is
definitely
fair.
that would be some March Madness. It is. It is March. It is madness. That could be some March Madness there with Lightspeed. Cops says Nemesis is right. All right, so there you have it. Bagels, what do you think? What do you think about all this?
I think Rival this playoff bracket for Rival has the potential for the most upsets.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Hydra's going to take it overall. I think Biscuit's going to win his third championship in a row, but I definitely think Nemesis is not too far off. I think Lightspeed could upset Vortex, but
No.
I do think Vortex will go through and probably beat Pineapples. But I mean, between Gravelords and Arrival, I mean, either one of those teams could win, and I honestly could see Lightspeed making it to either one of the semifinals. And interestingly enough, we're gonna have Chipmunk and Astro facing off, the only two players from the season 3 grand finals. So we'll have to see how the rematch plays out there. But I think Biscuit and the boys, assuming they don't mauled, they've looked beatable lately. So they're gonna have to fine tune some things. But I think Hydra takes it overall.
Right, well,
Alright.
we'll have to see. We probably have to move on quickly to Titan. I got to give a couple quick shout outs to potentially Pineapples. We didn't really talk about them. Pineapples sitting there. They took home the top seed in the Eastern Conference.
Bad
Might not want
conference.
bad conference, but I mean,
Gravelords through.
but then again, Distortion and Kings 3-15, 2-16 in the West. But regardless, Pineapples could be dangerous. Arrival, maybe. That's all I'll say about that. Let's move along to Titan quickly. Bagels, tell us about Titan. We got to make her quick. We're running behind.
Titan was another very close season overall, but we did have some front runners. We had Gravity, Inferno, and Pinnacle, who all the way throughout the season kept their records super close up until the last day of the season, where I think heading into it they were all 14 and I'm not quite sure what the record was, but it was
12 and
they were
5.
really close. 12 and 5, yeah.
12 and 5.
They were all 12 and 5 heading into it, and ultimately Gravity ended up coming out with the 1 seed with a narrow Game 5 victory against Pinnacle, and an unfortunate Elsless Inferno got swept by the Reapers, so that locked up the 1 seed from them. Inferno ended up getting the 2 seed with narrow tiebreakers over Pinnacle, who also had an unfortunate loss without one of their players or 2 of their players. But definitely dominating seasons from all 3 of those teams. And then coming in at the 4 seed, we got the Reapers, who, unlike or very much like all the other Bagels teams, have had many roster changes throughout the season. But I think I've got a good roster here. Got 4 Snack and me, and able to win 5 of our last 6. So against a lot of good teams. So I think that puts us in a pretty good spot at that 3-4 matchup. And then we got Dragons and Venganza in the 5-6, who've probably been 2 of the most inconsistent teams, but 2 teams that could potentially make their way all the way to the semifinals, I think. But Dragons finishing with a 10-8 record, and Venganza, I think they finished with a 9-9 record with
10
a
and 8.
very 10-8 as well, with a very interesting game against the Grandmasters that was on the Nemesis After Dark Twitch channel. And the other teams, we had Lions and Bananas, who were kind of trying to make a comeback at the very end. I think Bananas, they picked up Slimy. And that was honestly a really dangerous team and upset potential team, but they just lost too many games early on in the season, and Lions just too inconsistent overall. And then rounding it out, I think we had Disillusion, who just couldn't find the win column most of the time throughout the season. And Grandmasters, they started out so hot, and then they lost Bubbly, they lost some players, and they just weren't the same after Foam and Bubbly left.
And they had their
That
chances.
rounds out Titan. That rounds out Titan.
That does
Going
round
into the
out.
playoffs.
All right,
Bracket.
let's look quickly at this bracket. Let's bring around the table. Chipmunk, let's throw it to you first. So what interests you about the Titan bracket and predictions here?
Gaunt's winning.
Oh,
Oh,
from the,
No, no.
from the sixth seed. From the
No,
sixth
no, I'm
seed.
kidding. It'll probably be Gravity or Inferno. I think. Actually, no, Gravity or Pinnacle. I think it'll end up being Pinnacle, but Gravity also are probably going to take it to Game 7 or win, in my opinion.
Steve, money thoughts?
I don't know. It's definitely a close race for the top 3, I would say. So I definitely feel Gravity going to the finals, but as far as Inferno versus Pinnacle, I think Pinnacle's definitely gonna punch out the Reapers. Well, I guess Gravity
Whoa.
would end up doing that because they're gonna go down and then they're gonna. I don't know. Between Reapers, Dragons, and Venganza, any of them could go to play Gravity, but Gravity's probably gonna win. Like
No shot.
like in 5 or 6 games.
Oh my.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not even gonna be a Game 7. And then
Who's
I don't
winning it
know.
all?
Probably Gravity. But
I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know if this is
I think
true.
Pinnacle's got the best chance to beat
Goff
them.
just said Pinnacle won't have KDN for the upper and lower quarterfinals.
That is true.
So, if that affects you guys' opinion,
We want to hear your. We want to hear your. We want to hear your opinion. We got to keep it rolling. What do you think, Nemesis, about this?
well, I didn't know that Pinnacle wouldn't have KDN for the upper and lower. But I still think that they're gonna make it to semi. I have Pinnacle winning it all, to be honest with you, but Gravity is definitely up there. They're definitely a competing team. But I have Pinnacle Gravity 4-2. Or Pinnacle 4-2 against Gravity.
Bagels. Bagels thoughts?
I think any of the top 4 teams could win, but I think just for the meme, it's going to be Inferno versus Gravity, and Els is going to lose in the grand finals again. But I honestly
Yeah.
think any of these top 4 teams could beat each other on any day, and I think just in last season's playoff for Titans, all the matches went to at least Game 6 in all the series, and I don't think we'll be seeing anything different in this playoff. I think all the matches are going to be really close.
I also agree with what you're saying here. Top 4 teams, they're all really close. People kind of sleep on the Reapers, but they are a really good team as well. But I completely agree with Bagels. All 4 of these teams can win on any day. It's going to be a spicy Titan playoff bracket, that's for sure. I'd love to see my Pinnacle boys pull it out back to back, but I don't know. Gravity, Inferno, Reapers, kind of scary at sometimes. So we'll have to find out. But that's gonna wrap it up for our week in review. We got to get up to our first match of the night in just a couple of minutes. So thank you for everyone hanging out with us. We have another one. We have our, like I said, we have our match coming up. Another quick shout out to Ferda. It's Ferda for gifting a sub to Tunificent. So shout out to Ferda. And we are going to be moving to our next matchup in just a couple of minutes. Our 8:45 matchup is going to be Faded taking on Vipers. This is actually a playoff preview, as these two teams are going to be facing off in lower round 1. So it'll be an exciting one to see in just a couple minutes. So stick around, and we'll see you guys in a little bit.